Hey everyone, this is Dan from MMORPGtips.com, and this is the video to accompany the World of Warcraft leveling guide, which is up on the site now. So if you're watching on YouTube, you might want to head over to MMORPG Tips. I'll put the link in the description to the guide. This will just be a quick summary of all available XP bonuses in the game, what add-ons to use while leveling, and where to go to level quickly. So let's just get right into it with XP bonuses first. First of all, there's the heirlooms that I'm not gonna go into much detail about, since we want to keep this pretty quick. You can get up to 55% bonus XP from heirlooms. Every piece is pretty easy to get except the rings, which I just consider to be too much hassle to get. Then there's Recruit a Friend, which used to be really good, and I actually used to multi-box to get the bonus because it was like 300% before, but it's only 50% now, which is still good if you're leveling with a friend anyway. Then there's Rest XP, which we're also not gonna go into great detail about. You can read more about it in the guide. Every WoW player knows about Rest XP, but if you're new, just log out at an inn or in a city to get bonus XP while you're logged out. Then there's the XP potions. These also used to be really good with Elixir of Rapid Mind and Elixir of Ancient Knowledge, giving 300% bonus XP. These no longer drop. You can still buy some on the auction house, but expect to pay a lot of gold. The only real viable options are the Excess Potion of Accelerated Learning that you can get in your garrison, but it only works for the Warlords levels. And with patch 8.1 you have the draft of the 10 lands, which will give 10% bonus XP as well. Next up is War Mode, which I suggest you turn on. You can get ganked if you have it on, but in my experience that doesn't happen nearly often enough to warrant turning it off. In the Dark Moon Fair you can get the Wii bonus and the Dark Moon top hat, but personally I don't feel like they're really worth it to go over there and disrupt your leveling just to get the 10% bonus from those. At level 100 get the Insightful Rubelite. It's very cheap to get on the auction house and socket that into one of your gear pieces. Lastly, there's the Battle Standard of Coordination, which I'm not gonna talk too much about now, but you can go look at the guide if you want to know how to get that one. So that's all the XP bonuses. Now we're gonna look at the add-ons you can use for leveling. The most famous leveling add-ons are probably the ones that you have to pay for, like Doogies and Cyger's Guides. They are great if you don't mind paying a bit for them, but we're just going to be looking at the free options here. First up, there's Azeroth Autopilot. That's for the BFA levels, so 110 to 120. The leveling process in BFA is already pretty quick and easy, but this just speeds it up even more with things like skipping cutscenes and showing you where to go for quests. Khans Legion is pretty much the same thing, just for Legion, but Legion is super quick anyways, especially if you have the Legion invasion timer. Invasions are great for XP. You don't even really need the add-on. You can just go to invasiontimer.com to see when the next one is up. With patch 8.1 the same thing will go with incursions in BFA. Next up you have handy notes. You want to get the main add-on and also the treasure ones, especially the one called Handy Notes Draenor Treasures, because you can level from level 90 to 100 super quickly just by flying around if you have flying and picking up treasures in Warlord zones. But get the ones for Pandaria, Legion and BFA as well to see all the treasures. NPC scan is good because it shows you when rare mobs spawn, and rare mobs give good XP when leveling. And at last we have Titan panel, which is just a preference. There are probably other add-ons that do the same thing, but it shows you how much XP you're making per hour and how long it is until you level up. So now let's move on to the actual leveling part. First, let's start with levels 1 to 60, or the vanilla levels. As you can see here, we have a map of all the zones. If you want to have a better look, I suggest you head over to the site and check it out there. But you can basically just level wherever you want now, as long as you're within the right bracket. There's just a couple of things to keep in mind. For the first 20 levels, I suggest you stick to your starting zone, as they are designed to have a lot of good quests for getting through those levels quickly. Then you can really do whatever zone you like or enjoy. They're all pretty much as quick as the other. But if you want a route which is maybe a bit quicker than the others, I would go with Westfall, then Redridge Mountains, then Duskwood, then the Strangled Thorn, if you are in the Eastern Kingdoms. For Kalimdor, I would do Southern Barrens, Dustwallow March, Thousand Needles, Tanarius, Angora Crater, and Silithus. At level 15 you can start using the group finder to do dungeons. On a general basis, you want to do them each once for the quests, and the system in-game actually does a very good job of just trying to always send you to dungeons which you haven't completed yet. On a few rare occasions you get sent to dungeons you have done before, and some can be worth it if they're really quick, like the Stockades can be done like in a couple of minutes and will give you a good XP at the end. But some dungeons are really long and not really worth it if you get sent to them more than once. So now let's move on to the 60 to 80 bracket of leveling. These are the levels most people struggled with after leveling was redone in patch 7.3.5, but they should be a lot quicker now with patch 8.1. You have the choice between doing Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King zones. And here it's all up to you to what you prefer. I haven't really noticed that big of a difference, but the general consensus seems to be that the Wrath zones are a bit better designed for leveling. So maybe just start in the Howling Fjord and move your way up as you progress. The only real alternative I found, and was actually how I leveled a couple of levels with my last tune, was flying around and doing herbalism and mining in Sholazar Basin while I was waiting for PvP queues. But for that to be worth it, you have to actually win in PvP to get a decent amount of XP. So now let's move on to level 80 to 90. It's pretty straightforward. You can either do Cataclysm zones or Missive Pandaria. Hijal is nice for if you want to do Cataclysm zones, but the other ones aren't great. My suggestion is that you do the Jade Forest and Valley of the Four Winds, and these two zones will probably take you all the way to level 90. So let's move on to level 90 to 100. This is where it gets interesting. If this is your first character, you just have to do it the old-fashioned way and follow the zones. But if this is an alt and you have flying in WoD, you're in luck. If you level a lot of characters and you don't have flying in WoD, I suggest you just unlock it. It can take quite some time, but it's really worth it. I didn't have it until recently, and I had to do all the quests for all the zones and or for many of the zones to unlock flying, but I'm glad I did. Now you just need to get handy notes, and handy notes drain your treasures to see all the treasures on the map. You still want to do this if you don't have flying, but then you should just level the regular way and pick up treasures as you go. But if you do have flying, you can just fly from map to map and pick up all the treasures in each map. You also want to do some of the bonus objectives, because you can only pick up the treasures if you're high enough level. So you can only pick up treasures in Spires of Arak if you're level 96 or higher, and so on. Also remember to get your 10% XP potion in your garrison. This method will take you to level 100 very quickly, just in a matter of a few hours. And when you reach level 100, you will be in Tanan Jungle. And just finish picking up all the treasures there, because it will can take you to like level 101, 102, and one level still only takes like 20 minutes. One thing to note is that there are some treasures that are kind of a pain in the ass to get. So if you find yourself spending a lot of time getting to a treasure, just skip it and go for the next one. With bonus objectives as well, there are some that are just super quick and really worth it, and others that just take too much time. I only did like 1 or 2 bonus objectives in each zones, and if they were taking too much time, I just went on to the next one. So now Legion. You can upgrade your heirlooms all the way to 110, so it's still pretty quick, leveling 100 to 110. Get Cons Legion add-on for quick leveling here. I usually just do Asuna and maybe Walshara, and I will be 110. The most important thing is just to be aware of the invasion timer. Either get the add-on or check invasiontimer.com. If you're leveling alts, a good way is just to do invasions, not anything else. Just log them in, do the invasion log out, and wait for the next one. Also remember to do bonus objectives as you come by them. And when you finish a zone, you will get a dungeon quest, which will give a bunch of XP. So only do the dungeons when you have a quest. But that's it for Legion leveling. If you have full heirlooms, level will generally just take like 30 minutes. So you'll be 110 in no time. And now we're already at current content, level 110 to 120. And already with the launch of BFA, these levels were pretty quick compared to previous expansions. Get the add-on Azeroth Autopilot. You can do the zones in whatever order you like, but at 110 you are kind of overpowered, especially if you have Legion legendaries. So you might want to do the longer, harder, more grindy zones first to get them done with. So my suggestion would be for Alliance to do Drustwar first, then Tiragard, then Stormsong Valley. For Horde I would do Vol'dun, then Solasar, and then Nasmir. If this is your main, this is kind of the way you have to level, but if you're leveling alts, there are a couple of alternatives. Island expeditions are of course a very popular way to level right now. A lot of people are selling boosts to run through them quickly, so you can do that if you have a lot of gold to spend. But I don't find them that much quicker, so I just do them the old-fashioned way. If you ever want to make gold while leveling, you can do herbalism and mining. Well, mostly herbalism now, especially if you have a sky golem, or you can buy stirrups so that you can stay on the mount while farming. There's more info on all of this on the guide on the site. And lastly, there will also of course be the incursions, which will work the same way as invasions did in Legion, which will help speed up the leveling process for those levels quite a bit. But that's pretty much it for now. With the changes in patch 8.1 to leveling, and also with incursions and the new XP potion, leveling new characters should be much more doable. I plan on leveling a couple of new ones as soon as the patch hits. The WoW leveling guide on MMORPG tips will of course be updated with all changes for further patches, so check that out if you want to know more about leveling. But that's all for now. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment. Likes and subscribes are very much appreciated, and I will see you guys around.